Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're diving into something seriously overlooked but absolutely essential when it comes to your hormones, metabolism and energy. We're not just talking food and fitness here, we're going a bit deeper. This session is for women who feel stuck, tired of guessing and are ready to feel good again. Strong, clear and in control of your body. So grab your cup of tea, get comfy and let's jump in because real change starts here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Angie Jenkins, Director of Fit for Life and creator of the Train, Nourish, Flourish retreats. I've spent nearly 30 years in nutrition and corporate wellness, working with some of Ireland's largest companies to build on-site gyms and support employee health programs. Alongside that, I ran a private training studio from 2010 to 2017. And throughout my journey, I've accumulated multiple certifications, but perhaps more importantly, I cultivated a deep appreciation for lifelong education. My commitment to learning is driven by my personal story. I faced my own health challenges in my 20s, and watching my family members struggle with diabetes and obesity made me determined to take a different path. Then fast forward to 2020, I was diagnosed with low thyroid. I was experiencing migraines, muscle aches, problems sleeping, which really affected my exercise and my recovery. Now fast forward to today, I remain as curious as ever about the body and its capabilities. But what I've come to realize is that the body is truly remarkable and has the incredible potential to heal itself when provided with the right environment. And I believe that with the proper knowledge and support, we can access our body's own healing process. And I'm on a mission to help women feel amazing again, syncing with their biology and not fighting against it. So thank you for joining me once again. So quick heads up, this masterclass is purely for educational purposes only and not meant to diagnose, treat, or prescribe. That said, my goal is to empower you, to give you the information so you can make your own informed decisions. Remember, you're the expert of your body, and this is your launching pad. So let's get started. So here's the game plan. We'll start by breaking down what's really happening with your hormones in perimenopause. Then we'll explore estrogen dominance, what it is, why it's showing up, and we'll look at a different perspective to the narrative of declining estrogen being the fault of our symptoms. Next, we'll shift into quantum health, how your light environment, your circadian rhythm influence your hormones. And finally, I'll share real solutions, food, movement, environmental changes, and one incredible technology that I've actually been testing myself. And this is going to go beyond just the basics of exercise and nutrition. Perimenopause is often seen as a biological decline, and that's exactly what I used to believe. But now I see it as something entirely different. It's an energetic shift, a recalibration, a chance to realign our bodies to interact with light, food, and the world around us. And in my journey to make sense of this stage of life, I explored both traditional Chinese medicine and, more recently, circadian and biology perspectives. Now, these approaches view the body as an interconnected system where hormones don't act alone, but they're deeply influenced by our light exposure, our meal timing, and environmental signals. One of the most eye-opening discoveries for me came through the work of Dr. Wendy Salins. She spent decades researching breast health using thermography. And in her book, The Breast Thermography Revolution, I'm just going to share her book with you. I recommend every woman pick this up and have a look at her website. I'll put the links in the description. So basically, she shows visual proof that hormone-based therapies like the pill, HRT, and even healthy estrogenic foods can actually cause harm to the breasts over time. Now, this flips the narrative we've been told. Most doctors focus on declining estrogen as the biggest problem, but Wendy's research and many others in the space point instead to estrogen dominance as the root cause of many of the symptoms. And when you consider all the extra estrogens we're exposed to through things like plastics, skincare, food, and even so-called natural products, it starts to all make sense. I'm not saying this to scaremonger or anything. I'm saying this to give you the tools, to help you question the story we've been fed, and start looking at this next chapter of life through a different lens, one rooted in empowerment, education, and curiosity. So let's dive in. Okay, so let's start by normalizing this. Menopause isn't a disease. It's a natural stage of life. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's even called a second spring, a time of transformation. So what is perimenopause? Well, basically, it's the phase leading into menopause when hormone fluctuations begin. And women often start noticing shifts as early as their 30s now and 40s. Now, here's a few key facts. Menopause is officially marked after 12 months consecutive without menstruation, and the average age is around 41. If it happens to be before 45, it's considered early, and before 40, it's considered premature. And certain events like hysterectomies or ovarian removal, chemotherapy, or radiation can force your body into menopause prematurely. And there are a few key hormones that really run the show when it comes to your energy, metabolism, mood, and overall health. Think of your hormones like an orchestra. When all the instruments are in tune, you feel great. But when one is off, the whole piece feels wrong, and so do you. Now, most people think hormones only change with age or menopause, but that's not the full story. They're also shaped by daily light exposure, your sleep-wake timing, the food you eat, and how you move. So let's meet the main players. First, we have pregnenolone. This is a starting point for many other hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and cortisol. It's made in the mitochondria and it depends on natural light, especially sunrise. It helps with your mood, memory, and staying resilient to stress. Next, we have estrogen, the builder. Estrogen builds bones, brain, heart, and reproductive tissues. In perimenopause, it starts to drop, but excess estrogen from exogenous sources like plastics, chemicals, and even so-called healthy phytoestrogens contained in food can build up and create estrogen dominance. That can lead to things like bloating, breast tenderness, mood swings, especially if detox and movement are low. Next, we have progesterone, the calmer. Think of it like your chill hormone, great for sleep, mood, and nervous system regulation. It rises after ovulation, and it's strongest when you're relaxed and asleep. Low levels often mean poor sleep, more anxiety, and heavier periods. Cortisol considered your first responder or your stress hormone, and it's essential for energy in the morning, but only when it's well timed. This should rise in the morning light and drop by evening. But late night lights, screens, and stress keep it too high, which can lead to belly fat, burnout, and poor sleep. Next, we have insulin, which is our sugar regulator. Insulin controls blood sugar and fat storage. As we get older and more stressed, we often become insulin resistant, even if we're not eating more. The good news is morning sunlight and balanced meals can help bring it back into sync. Next, we have the thyroid. Your thyroid sets the pace for everything, your energy, mood, metabolism. It's super sensitive to your environment as well. And the conversion of inactive T4 to active T3 depends on light, liver health, and stress levels. Many women are just told their thyroid is normal when they still feel exhausted. And blue light at night can be a big disruptor. Next, we have leptin, which is our energy sensor. Leptin tells your brain you're full and regulates fat burning. And it needs darkness at night to work and bright morning light to stay on track. Next, we have melatonin, the antioxidant queen. It's not just for sleep. It's also for repairing your cells, protecting against aging. And melatonin is built during the day with sunlight and released at night in darkness. And too much screen time before bed basically blocks this. Finally, DHEA and testosterone, considered the vitality hormones. These give you strength, energy, and libido. But when estrogen estrogen is too high from external sources, it can block these completely, even if your body's production of estrogen is dropping. You can boost them naturally with strength training, good sleep, and you guessed it, sunlight. So just a final note on our hormones, they're not broken. They're just out of sync with our environment. Shift your light, your movement, meals, and stress, and you shift everything. Here's what estrogen dominance can look like in real life. These symptoms like bloating, breast tenderness, mood swings, acne, fatigue, weight gain, they're what Dr. Wendy Salins points out when she challenges the narrative that we just need more estrogen. Excess and environmental estrogens often drive these symptoms, not deficiency. And it's a mindset shift worth considering today. Now let's dig deeper. The why behind the symptoms. This isn't just about aging or genetics. It's about the underlying drivers. Mitochondrial and circadian disruptions, liver overload, stress, poor sleep, loss of lean mass, and exposure to hormonal disruptors. Start here and you'll understand how to fix it. So first off, light mismatch throws off everything. Think about the first light you see in the morning. Is it sunlight? Or is the phone the first thing you see? And what about late night? What's the last light you see? You see, our internal clocks are light sensitive, and exposure to artificial blue and white LEDs, particularly at night, suppress melatonin, your regeneration hormone, and it blocks leptin, your fullness and metabolism regulator. So when melatonin is blocked, cortisol stays high, sleep is wrecked, and your cravings for sugar and carbs can skyrocket. This is a key driver for hormonal chaos, and particularly poor sleep, mood, weight gain, and hot flashes included. Now, most of us know that the mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell, but they do far more than just produce energy. They also generate light in a specific type of water called exclusion zone, or EZ water, something rarely discussed outside the quantum biology world. I won't go down that rabbit hole today, but just know it's a big deal. Now, your mitochondria rely on natural light cues, especially red and infrared light, to function fully and to its full capacity. This is what fuels cellular repair, hormone production, and metabolic balance. But when we spend too much time under artificial lighting or constantly staring at screens, we're bathing in what's called junk light. Just like junk food disrupts your gut and metabolism, junk light disrupts our cells. Mitochondria become sluggish, energy dips, and this leads to fatigue, brain fog, inflammation, and poor detoxification pathways, amplifying, you guessed it, our menopausal symptoms. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Every organ, your liver, your ovaries, your thyroid, your brain, it has its own internal clock. When these clocks fall out of sync, our whole communication system breaks down. That's when cortisol rises at night instead of in the morning, when you feel wired and tired at bedtime and can't sleep, or you just can't get out of bed. That's when estrogen clearance slows, progesterone drops, and symptoms start to spiral. And yes, that late night snacking, irregular sleep, and scrolling on TikTok before bed, they're all major culprits here. Okay, let's look at some other key stressors that can affect our hormone balance. Obviously, poor diet. The typical Western diet is loaded with foods filled with refined carbs, processed foods, and toxic seed oils. These don't just spike your blood sugar, they overwhelm your liver. And here's the thing. Your liver is responsible for clearing out excess estrogen and converting thyroid hormone to its usable forms. And when it's clogged up with junk food, alcohol, meds, or constant snacking, your detoxification pathways slow down, your estrogen builds up, and your hormone balance gets thrown off. Now let's talk stress. When you're under constant pressure, your adrenal glands are pumping out cortisol around the clock. But your body can't do everything at once. So if cortisol is hogging all the resources, guess what gets sidelined? Amongst many hormones, progesterone. And that's the hormone that keeps you calm, helps you sleep, and balances estrogen. Now in perimenopause, your ovaries start handing over the hormone production job to the adrenals. But if your adrenals are already overburdened from years of stress, you're just running on fumes. And that's why building in daily de-stress rituals isn't optional. It's a non-negotiable. Let's look at poor sleep. Now, who here is getting 7 to 9 hours of deep, interrupted sleep every night? If you're not, your hormones aren't resetting properly. Melatonin, cortisol, progesterone, even insulin all depend on sleep to get back into rhythm. And this is where late night scrolling, bright lights, and even waking to pee can cause more harm than you think. Now we have lack of muscle mass and too much fat. Now here's a lesser known fact. Estrogen is stored in fat cells. So the more body fat you have, the more likely you are holding on to extra estrogen. And that's why building lean muscle becomes even more important during menopause. It's not about looking lean, it's about managing your hormones. Now just a note on hormone testing in perimenopause. Many women ask, should I get my hormones tested? Here's the problem. If your cycles are irregular or fluctuating, your hormone levels are shifting from day to day, so your results depend heavily on when you test. And basic standard blood panel tests don't test the estrogen stored in your fat tissue, which is a huge blind spot. So some women are often told they're low in estrogen, when in reality they're just not clearing it efficiently. And lastly, we have the endocrine disrupting chemicals. Remember, your environment matters. Every cream, shampoo, non-stick pan, scented candle, and plastic container is sending messages to your hormone. These chemicals mimic estrogen and interfere with the endocrine system. If we want real change, we've got to look at not just what we put in our bodies, but what we put on them and around them as well. It's not just about your age. It's your environment, your inputs, your circadian rhythm. And the good news is you can change all of that. So here is where we shift into action. Let's look at some environmental, food, and movement strategies. So the first things first, we need to let light lead. Light isn't just for seeing, it's information and a nutrient. Each wavelength triggers specific hormonal and mitochondrial processes. Now, did you know that you only get 30% of your energy from food? And where do you think the other 70% of your energy comes from? Well, if you've been paying attention, you're going to say light, but there's also grounding involved as well. So here's the cycle. Sunrise resets cortisol and circadian rhythm. Then we have our mid-morning UVA, which supports our sex hormone production. Then we have our midday UVB. This helps boost our vitamin D levels. It helps with our metabolism and our fat burning functions. And finally, we have sunset, and this signals melatonin production and that metabolic calm. Now, grounding or earthing connects the body to the Earth's natural electrical field. This allows you to absorb free electrons, which act like nature's antioxidants. And these can reduce your inflammation, improve sleep, support hormone balance, and calm the nervous system, which many of us need these days. Grounding is so simple to do. You can walk barefoot on the beach, grass, soil, sand, take a bath. Remember, plumbing is grounded. You can swim in seas, lakes, or natural springs, stand or walk in the rain. Even leaning on a living tree, they're conductive. And even sitting on unsealed natural concrete is actually conductive. And this is where we get 70% of our energy from. sunlight, and grounding. Now, how are we going to practice our circadian hygiene, and what's going to be the biggest game changer? Well, it's making natural light the first thing you see in the morning. Sunrise is so beautiful, and it's a biological reset. So make sure you get out early. Even when there's clouds, even open a window. Remember, our windows block UV, so we need to have open windows. We can't just look out a window. If you work in an office building, it's important to take light breaks throughout the day. Get outside the office. Most modern buildings don't allow you to open the windows, but if you do work in an office setting that can open the windows, go ahead and do that. That definitely helps. Now, another important thing to look at is avoiding screens, particularly after sunset. And we just need to mitigate our modern lifestyle, and there are ethical companies coming out that are developing and have products on the market, so you can buy things like amber or red light bulbs. And I'm just going to share with one of these light bulbs that I have. I have a number of these. I have a reading lights and another light. So these are amber, and they're non-flicker. So considering ditching the overhead lights, using lamps, and replacing your bulbs at night. And then we have the wonderful technology of blue blocking glasses. So I've been working in gyms for 30 years under LED lights, and the first thing I do, anybody who knows me will see me with these yellow glasses on at night. So the different colors, these don't completely block blue, because we do need blue. It's inherent, but we need it in nature. And the problem with all our devices is it is lacking all the other reds and infrareds and color spectrums. So these are more of a daytime lens. And then when it comes to sunset, we have the orange lens. So again, they're relatively inexpensive, but definitely something to invest in. And I certainly have noticed that my sleep has improved since wearing these, which I bought my first pair, I think, back in 2017. So let's keep going. We're constantly told that our hormones are just aging, but what if they're actually overloaded by what we use and wear every single day? And again, this gets back to the work of Dr. Wendy Salins, and she points out every external estrogen exposure, not aging, has a huge driver on our hormonal chaos. Like I said earlier, these compounds mimic estrogen and overload our system. It is a big deal. We want to change out our products. I'm not saying ditch everything right here and now, but when you run out of things, start replacing them with better quality products. Things like your household cleaners, scented candles, personal care products, plastics. And this drives me crazy. People still microwave in plastic. Most of us are aware, and I see a lot of stainless steel and glass containers now, which is fantastic, and that's what we have to aim towards. Even down to the synthetic fibers in our clothing. Now, I'm not saying to ditch all your clothes, but certainly start with the things that are fitting close to our body, like our underwear. We have things like flame retardants in our furniture, non-stick cookware, huge problem. Get rid of the Teflon. We have, non-coated ceramic and stainless steel are definitely better options. They're a little bit more pricey, but this is something that we're using every day, and it's important to invest in good quality products. Now, are these healthy foods harming our hormones? Again, back to Dr. Wendy Salins, and I am going to link to her website. You may not agree with it, but I was mind blown by this research. So she shows visually in her book through thermography, which is using infrared cameras to detect vascularity in the breast tissue, how all these commonly promoted health foods are actually spiking estrogen levels in women, and the top offenders include flaxseed and flax oil. Now, I have a recipe for flaxseed crackers because I'm not a big wheat and bread person, and I distributed this to all my female clients, this flaxseed cracker. I've completely changed my mind on this now. I've been well aware of soya-based products, tempeh, tofu, soy milk, soy protein, soy oil, soya yogurts. These all are estrogens. They might be phytoestrogens or natural estrogens, but these natural estrogens are causing the estrogen dominance as well. We have multigrain crackers and seed breads. They're often containing flax and soy derivatives and hummus and tahini. So let's not forget the essential oils in our food and skincare. Now, Dr. Salins points out that all these components were meant for medicinal purposes only, right? And they weren't meant for daily use in all our creams and potions. So constant daily use pushes our hormone load way too high. Let's move on. So we have foods for healthy hormones. Remember, our food is our secondary signal after light, meaning it helps to set our internal rhythms. And here's how to align your meals like our ancient biology intended. So we basically want to aim to eat according to the sun and seasons. And these are just some little tips. Protein with healthy fats at breakfast, and try and eat within 1 hour of waking, and make sure that we don't skip breakfast. You want to stop eating 3 to 4 hours before bed. We want to support our detox and balance our insulin. So eating too close to bed doesn't allow your body to do all the repair functions that it needs to do. It's too busy digesting. And then we have seasonal. Now let's talk protein and why it's needed front and center in your midlife nutrition plan. Protein isn't just about muscle, it's your body's construction crew. It builds and repairs tissue, it maintains muscle and bone, it supports detoxification pathways, it stabilizes blood sugar, and most importantly, it's critical for hormone production. Now here's a truth bomb. Your sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they're made from cholesterol. Not sugar, not spinach, cholesterol. And that's why the decades-long war on fat and cholesterol have been one of the biggest health mistakes of our time. We're told to fear butter, eggs, and steak. And it's no wonder why our hormone issues are skyrocketing. So let's clear this up. You need cholesterol to make hormones. You need protein to build the structures they work on. And you need complete proteins, those that contain all 9 amino acids your body can't produce on its own. Now, animal-based proteins, like our beef, our eggs, our chicken, our lamb, they give you exactly what you need. And plant-based proteins, now they can help, but they're incomplete, meaning you have to mix multiple foods and eat a lot of it to get enough usable protein. Plus, they often come with extra carbs, which means women in midlife struggle to process them efficiently. So here's your takeaway. Start your day with protein, not cereals and porridge and fruit. And don't skip breakfast. Prioritize these animal-based proteins to support your muscle metabolism and hormones. And don't fear fat. Your hormones are literally made of it. Healthy hormones equals healthy fats. And we want to aim for more saturated fats and monounsaturated fats. And then we have, if you look down here, kind of salmon, sardine, mackerel, aim for wild caught. These are our omega-3 fatty acids. The problem with modern lifestyles and Western diets is that our omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratio is out of whack. We're having way too many omega-6 fats, generally in the form of these toxic seed oils nowadays, because it's in every processed food. So these are the fats we want to aim for, And just know that these seed oils are everywhere and they're damaging our hormones and our mitochondrial health. They're what's termed PUFAs, so polyunsaturated fatty acids. So they oxidize easily and they can cause inflammation and insulin resistance, and they can even disrupt your hormones and cell membranes. So swap them out for stable fats like butter, lard. Olive oil is more of a monounsaturated fat. And just a side note on olive oil, we don't really want to cook it. It doesn't have a high heat point. So save that for more salads and after the fact of cooking. So when it comes to carbs, timing and sourcing is everything. Your mitochondria are tuned into nature's rhythm. They know whether you're eating sweet summer berries or a processed loaf of bread. So aim to eat local and seasonal as much as possible. Now, in the winter, go for things like root veg, carrot, parsnips, turnip, squash. These carbs match the lower sunlight and activity levels. And again, obviously, this is geared more towards people in kind of Northern Europe and North America because, you know, different foods grow at different latitudes. But in general, for Northern Europe, we're talking lower sunlight in the winter. Now, in the summer, when the days are longer and the UV light is stronger, this is where we can enjoy more fruits and more carbs and salads. Now, foods do carry light information. They literally tell your body what season it is and can help regulate your hormones, blood sugar, and metabolism just by what you're eating. We want to make it easy to digest as well. And what we want to aim to avoid, again, most grains and flour-based products. They're heavily processed, they're stripped of any nutritional value, and they carry zero circadian information. It's just energy with no direction. And my pet peeve are these fake milks, things like oat milk, almond milk, soy milk, rice milk. Just flip over the carton and look at the ingredients. What you find often is a chemical soup of emulsifiers, thickeners, seed oils, and sugar, the very PUFAs I just outlined in the previous slide that we're trying to avoid. Now, your body isn't broken, it's just confused, so eat in a way that matches the messages your environment should be sending it. And keep it simple, seasonable, and digestible. So water is the delivery system for every single biological process, including hormone transportation, detoxification, digestion, and energy production. So yes, hydration matters a lot, especially during hormonal transitions. So let's start your day with water. And make sure it's spring or filtered water. We want to avoid tap water, invest in either reverse osmosis or a distiller. And what we want to do is aim for a big glass of this filtered or spring water, ideally with a squeeze of lime or lemon in it to stimulate digestion, add a little flavor, and help with your liver with detoxification. And yes, I know citrus isn't seasonal in Ireland, but I like to choose my compromises wisely, and a little squeeze of lemon is not going to disrupt our circadian rhythm as much as having a banana for breakfast. And as I said, we want to avoid tap water as much as possible. It contains things like chlorines, microplastics, heavy chemicals in many countries, and fluoride, which has been shown to calcify the pineal gland, which is the gland that helps regulate circadian rhythm, melatonin, and overall hormonal health. Things to reduce and avoid, well, caffeine is a diuretic. And if you're having 2 to 3 cups a day and no actual water, you're just running on borrowed time and literally draining your adrenals. So dehydration equals hormonal stress. Even mild dehydration raises cortisol, it slows digestion, and it reduces cellular energy, meaning your mitochondria suffer, your hormones back up, and your cravings kick in. And the simplest daily tool you can use to support your hormone balance, energy, digestion, and detoxification processes are to keep hydrated. Okay, so let's talk movement now. So we're not 20 anymore, and we don't need to train like we are. As our hormones shift, our training should too. We need to drop the excessive cardio mindset and stop with workouts of excessive jogging and things like spin classes. Strength training is going to be essential, especially for women in perimenopause. It protects the muscle, the bone, and metabolism. If you're borderline osteopenic, this should be a non-negotiable. Daily routines like walking will help support your fat burning, stress reduction, and hormonal balance. And think of movement in smaller blocks, like movement snacks. So short bursts of things like 10 to 20 squats every hour. There was actually a recent study that found that these were more effective than doing a 30-minute walk at controlling your blood sugar. So you don't need a gym, you just need to be consistent. You need to stand up, move with intention, and remember, if your hormones are giving you a hard time, don't train harder, train smarter. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on the original light medicine. So long before modern medicine, sunlight was used as a powerful healing tool, and it was a practice known as heliotherapy. And in the early 1900s, Dr. Niels Fissan, who was a Danish physician, actually pioneered the use of focused light therapy to treat conditions like tuberculosis and lupus. And his work earned him a Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1903. Now, his discoveries showed that specific wavelengths of light could stimulate healing, reduce inflammation, and support the immune system. And today, we're rediscovering what Dr. Fissan knew over a century ago. Light is not just for vision. I'll say it again. It's information. It's fuel. It's medicine. So before I wrap up, I just wanted to introduce you to something that's really made an impact for me lately. Now, through my studies in quantum biology, I've been learning how light frequencies and energy affect our health at a cellular level. It's really opened my eyes to how deeply our bodies respond to signals from the environment. It's not just about the food that we eat or the movement that we do, but by light itself. And that's what led me to LifeWaves. They're small wearable patches. They look like this. I just so happen to have one on my wrist right now. And they use light and heat to gently activate your body's natural healing processes. So this particular one, the X39, helps your body to produce its own CHKCU, which is a copper peptide, and in turn helps the regeneration of dormant stem cells. So they work by stimulating these acupressure points or acupuncture points and supporting these things. So I started using them out of curiosity, and I was genuinely surprised at the results. I find I have less joint pain, and I'm recovering better when I do lift weights. But one of the things that really surprised me was the pain relief. I had watched testimonials of people talk about what's called the ice wave patch, and this is for pain relief. And just my own story, I was hiking on Crone. It's a beautiful mountain here in Ireland, and I tripped on one of the panels and I smashed my hand on the panel. I fell to my elbow jarred. I injured my shoulder. My hand started to puff up immediately. I had these patches. I hadn't tried them. I just bought them to have them on hand in case I needed them for this particular type of incident, which was unfortunate. I thought I was going to be out of work. My hand was swelling. Anyhow, I got home. Long story short, I patched up. By the end of the night, I could move my hand. I had no problem in my shoulder. I was pain-free, basically. So that's that was my own experience with the pain relief. Now, they're not a quick fix, but they are a natural, non-invasive tool. And I believe it could help many people, especially those dealing with chronic pain or fatigue. So if you do want to know more about how LifeWave works or whether or not it can support your own health goals, just reach out. I'm happy to share what I've learned so far, and I'll leave you a few resources as well if you prefer to explore in your own time. Now, to conclude, you are the light. This whole masterclass has been about reminding you that you're not broken. Your body isn't betraying you. You've just been living in an environment that doesn't support your biology. So reconnecting with nature, light, movement, sleep, and real food. This is the real hormone fix. It's not another pill or another fad diet. It's just the deep foundations of health. So once again, thanks for listening. I know I covered a lot. It might feel like you just drank from a fire hose, but I hope you're walking away feeling empowered, not overwhelmed, because you're not broken. You are the light. And once you start aligning with how nature designed us to function, things start to shift. Energy returns, symptoms ease, and you feel like more like yourself again. So what are your next steps? So if this sparked something in you, and if you want to go deeper, there's a few ways you can work with me. Now, I am organizing a Portugal retreat. So this is from September 23rd to 28th, 2025. And this is where I'm going to bring all of this to life. It's 5 nights of reset, real food, movement, circadian alignment, and real connection with women just like you. We'll be talking about everything I spoke about today. Or if you prefer the one-to-one route, I am taking clients. If you prefer more a personalized plan to support you putting these pieces into practice in a way that fits your lifestyle, this might be a way to start. And then finally, I will be launching a group Train, Nourish, Flourish membership. So this will include monthly live teaching sessions like today's talk, but they'll be shorter and I'll be breaking up the components of everything basically. And I plan to do weekly Q&A group calls via Zoom and have a WhatsApp group. And you'll have access to my Train, Nourish, Flourish Wellness Hub, which I have pre-recorded yoga classes, Pilates classes, and strength classes in there. Now, I'm not very active on social media yet, but I plan to do so very soon. And remember, you don't have to do this alone, but you do have to take the first step. And once again, from the bottom of my heart, thanks for joining me. And I hope to see you soon, maybe as your coach, or maybe I'll see you in Portugal. Thank you so much.